Welcome to the Jaybefaunt show. My name is James Fauntleroy, also known as Jaybefaunt, and I am your host. And I would just like to welcome all of you today for the show. Today is November 30th, 2021. Tuesday. I'm sorry. Got my days mixed up a little bit here. I just wanted to welcome everybody, those of you that are watching today. I will be covering the issues about the case regarding Ahmaud Arbery, as well as the case about China. And I would just like to welcome you all, and thank you for watching. And so one of the things that I wanted to touch on as far as Ahmaud Arbery, we can kind of mull over the case a little bit. So Ahmaud Arbery was a gentleman that was in Georgia. He was basically jogging in a neighborhood and stopped to look at a construction site, looking around at homes. And two men became suspicious. And the two men that were suspicious were, I know the son's name is Travis McMichael, and Greg McMichael. And so Travis and Greg McMichael, and their neighbor was William Roddy Bryan. And so they were suspicious of a black man running through their neighborhood. And so they felt like he was doing something wrong. Black guy looking around construction sites that of houses that were being built, looking through a window. And how many of us have done that? And so they confronted him, and Travis McMichael was the one who shot him. They actually took their truck and they raced towards him, I guess, to make a quote unquote citizen's arrest. And the crazy part about it is they wouldn't have been arrested or convicted if there wasn't public outrage, because the neighbor recorded everything on camera on his phone, and that got leaked. How it got leaked and how somebody got access to it, I don't know. But once everybody saw it, they said, yeah, these two men need to be arrested at least. And so because of it, because of that tape and the public outcry, they were arrested. I think it was a few months, 2 or 3 months after it happened that it was leaked. And so if the public hadn't gotten wind of it and there wasn't public outrage, the three men that were involved in the murder of Ahmaud Arbery would still be walking on the streets today. The case came to a close last week, the trial. And as it appears, the two gentlemen were convicted. Oh, good morning, Robin. Good to see you. Or, yeah, afternoon. Yeah, I just got caught in that too. I'm sorry. Yeah. But yeah, so as far as the case goes, I'm going to show you. And this is from the Associated Press. So it talks about the three men charged in Ahmaud Arbery's death, convicted of murder. This was last week. So you see Travis and his father, McMichael, and then you see William Bryan. That's in the middle. I'm sorry, William Ryan. That's in the middle. And so this was an article. This was by reporter Russ Bynum. And it begins by saying the three men were convicted of murder Wednesday in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, the black man who was running empty-handed through a Georgia subdivision when white strangers chased him, trapped him on a quiet street, and blasted him with a shotgun. The February 2020 slaying drew limited attention at first, but when video of the shooting leaked online, Arbery's death quickly became another example in the nation's reckoning of racial injustice in the way black people are treated in their everyday lives. Now the men are facing a mandatory sentence of life in prison. The judge will decide whether their sentences are served with or without possibility of parole. As the first of 23 guilty verdicts were read, Arbery's father had to leave the courtroom after leaping up and shouting. At the reading of the last criminal count, Arbery's mother dropped to her head and quietly pumped her fists. I'm just going to continue because this is a powerful point by his mother. Marcus Arbery Sr. Said he didn't do nothing but run and dream. Outside the courthouse, dozens of black supporters hugged and cried. The judge deliberated for about 10 hours. The jury deliberated for about 10 hours before convicting Greg McMichael, his son Travis McMichael, and the neighbor William Roddy Bryan. The McMichaels grabbed guns and jumped in a pickup truck to pursue the 25-year-old Arbery after seeing him running outside the Georgia port city of Brunswick. Bryan joined in pursuit in his own pickup and recorded the cell phone video of Travis McMichael fatally shooting Arbery. So they suspected Ahmaud Arbery of being a burglar. And my thing is, when one of the prosecutors, and I saw this live on TV, was giving her, I guess, the final thoughts, the closing arguments of the case, she blamed Ahmaud Arbery for his death. If I go into a neighborhood right now, and if I start peeking through, right, the houses just to see inside, maybe it has a for sale sign or a for rent sign, and the neighbors suspect me of being a burglar, number one, running away is not an admission of guilt. In fact, he was probably just jogging. Who knows? He had nothing in his hands. The only thing he probably had on was phone and his wallet. So to say that it was his own fault for just looking around at houses, there's nothing illegal about that. And so for them to pursue and shoot him dead, it was more like a how dare you come into our neighborhood and look around as if you want to live here. It's kind of what it felt like, kind of what it feels like. If I was a neighbor, the first thing I would have been like, "Oh, yo, what's up? Neighbors aren't home, or there's nobody that lives there." He probably been like, "Oh no, man, I was just looking to see I buy a house. Just looking to see what it looks like and on the inside, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And if I know the realtor, then maybe I can give him the number of the realtor. People don't give people the benefit of a doubt anymore, and the benefit of the doubt is even less among those of us of color, especially black and brown people. It's sad. It happened to me before, where people looked at me suspicious because I looked at him a couple times. I looked at a police officer a couple times. Dude looked like Vin Diesel. Okay. And he decided to stop me and run my ID because I looked at him a couple times. I was in my work clothes, button up shirt, tie, khakis. All because I was looking at him a little bit. That's not against the law. It's not a violation of anybody's privacy, anything like that. And I got stopped. And what if I had a record? What if I had a record? I might have been taken away. I might have lost my job. People are not willing to give people the benefit of the doubt, in that level of willingness to give people the benefit of a doubt drops dramatically for people who look like me. If only they did that with Ahmaud Arbery. First of all, they were not the law. I don't care if the father was a retired police officer. He was a civilian. He had no right to just stop him like that. If he wanted to, he could have just called. If he felt so inclined, he probably just called the police. Ahmaud Arbery probably still would have died anyway, though, because they probably would have found him and chased him down and gunned him. You know what the sad part about it is the fact that I can guess what happens. I left a poll in the chat, and the poll I asked was, do you think that both McMichaels and Brian will serve their full sentences? And if I'm correct, I think 100% of you said no. Kind of sad that we already know the outcomes of a lot of things in this nation without it actually happening. Without it actually. 86% said no. 14% said yes of you who said that. War Deer, Robert Durden, my people. Good to see my comrades from the Indie News Network. Good to see you guys. Nice to have you. Be sure to go to Robin's coffee and donate to her coffee. Be sure to give War Deer and Robert Durden a sub because they are amazing and they are part of the Indie News Network. And they are all of them are brilliant people. And Where Pilgrim just entered the chat. Good to see you too. So yeah, as far as the case of Ahmaud Arbery, I am This is going to sound weird, but even though they were convicted guilty, I feel kind of numb to the whole thing. It's just like, okay. It's like, how can I put it? It's like having been stabbed 100 times and then somebody patches up one of the stab wounds. It's like I have 100 stab wounds all over my body. You only patch up one or two. That's what it feels like. And the problem is that was one slight respite of justice. Not respite of justice. It was one slight bit of justice, a sliver of justice, and an entire scope of injustice that we have been seeing within the criminal justice system. Is a pro-capitalist white supremacist institution that puts us into a place where true justice is denied often and relative justice is given seldomly. And because of that, many of us, especially a lot of us older people, those of us who especially have lived during the civil rights era, are now extremely pessimistic of anything happening, anything at all. And so for a lot of us, it gets to the point where we're just tired. And now I feel that pessimism, that skepticism falling upon me as we speak. It's like people are like, well, JB, things have gotten better. And it's like, yeah, well, socially, a little bit, yeah. Systemically, nah, has not gotten better at all. And so people will talk about, oh, well, you see more representation in film and in music. They'll say you're more representation in how, if somebody's, is racist online, then they get canceled and blah, blah, blah. And it's like social issues. It's not the system. When you fix the system, everything else will fall into place. The problem is that all this is surface level. And people need to realize that the surface level BS doesn't cut it. Stop taking a broke down car and giving it a body job and then trying to sell it back to us. Stop it. Because we're going to lift up the hood and we're going to look at the engine and the transmission. We're going to look at the drivetrain. We're going to look at the exhaust. We're going to look at the electrical systems. We're going to look at it all. And then we see it's a pile of shit. And so you expect us to go, but it still has a nice paint job. Yeah, the paint job is nice, but it's not going to run. Painting Black Lives Matter on a street and kneeling in kente cloth does not commune the sentences of largely Black and brown people that are sitting on death row for crimes that they didn't commit. Kneeling on kente cloth and painting Black Lives Matter on a street does not stop the police from shooting people who look like me in the back for just running unarmed. or for just exercising our rights. So this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of just exhausted, burnt out. I haven't hit 40 yet, and I'm already getting burnt out just from all this. I can't even watch. Like, if somebody puts a video about police brutality, I keep scrolling. I can't watch. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm an emotional guy. I'm a sensitive guy. I'm gonna be first to say it. And to see this continuing, it breaks my heart. I remember a couple years ago, I think it was a couple years ago, there was a video that came out of a bombing. I think it was in Yemen. I think it was in Yemen. And they showed this little 4 or 5-year-old boy sitting in an ambulance covered in dust from all of the falling debris. And he also had blood on his head. And you saw nothing but just dead in his eyes. And he was just sitting there. And that broke me, man. That broke me. So imagine, just imagine what somebody like me feels like every single time I see one of those police brutality videos. I'm not saying not to share them, because it is important that we have awareness. But at the same time, there's getting to a point where I think a lot of us are now starting to become desensitized to it. You see it enough times, you become desensitized to it. And then you start to get to a point where you start to look at it like, okay. And the sense of outrage seems to go down. We just want it to stop. And the one thing that irks me the most is that we largely do not want these same things to happen to anybody else. But sometimes the only way that people actually see what we mean is if it does happen to them, which is the one thing we don't want to happen. Because if it does happen to them, it's still painful to us too. Because we don't want another life to be lost. Now I'm seeing it happen to a lot of poor white people. Why? Well, capitalism. They treated the hood like a zoo. The police were the zookeepers, right? Now, look at what they're starting to do to poor white neighborhoods. They're going to start treating you guys like that too. Why? Because that means that we got to keep more people down in order to have more profit and riches for us. Class solidarity would be one of the only things that will truly push things forward and at least try to change things to something somewhat bearable. I'm going to go to the chat. Micah says, because prison will do nothing to help heal. I'm a fan of restorative justice. What about the prison system in modern times actually helps people reform? Some people do get reform, but there is a larger recidivance rate when it comes to the prison industrial complex because they want you to come back. They don't want you to be truly reformed. And they'll take out a lot of the tools that people use to reform themselves. They'll take that out too. So the system needs to be changed, even in how we try to help people to reform. Even that needs to be changed. And I'm going to set a line in the sand right now. As far as sentencing goes, even though Bryant and the McMichaels have committed a heinous crime, they should not get death penalty. The death penalty. I don't believe in the death penalty. There are too many people. We just made efforts to save an innocent man from getting killed on death row a couple weeks back. We had to lead, there was a huge campaign, and they're going on all the time for people who are innocent, who are on death row about to be killed by the state, and they're innocent. I do not think that it is worth risking the lives of innocent people, even if it's a 1% chance. You want to do life in prison? Fine, do life in prison, but do not kill them. Nope. And even the way that a lot of the states do death penalties, and the way they administer death is just inhumane. So yeah, that's where I stand on that. Robin says, just chilling as I work on some logos and hang with friends. That's good. It's good to see you. So what do I honestly want to see? I want to see a system where it's changed to the point where it breeds a culture of giving people the benefit of the doubt. And also it breeds a culture of coming to people to make sure they're okay without presuming ill intent. Just like I think it was a student that fell asleep in, I think, a lounge or something I think it was at a college. I can't remember exact details. But they called the police on that person. And honestly, what should have happened was police officer comes over, kind of tells the person, hey, wake up. Are you okay? Is there anything we can help you out with? Is there something wrong? And the person be like, oh no, I just fell asleep, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, this person was concerned and we just wanted to make sure everything was okay. Or the person who called the police could have awakened them and said, hey, are you okay? It shouldn't have even gotten to that point. So yeah. Basically having empathy for people and seeing the concerns of people and taking them on as your own. and using that empathy instead of always presuming some ill intent by people. So for the next subject, switching gears here. I'm going to share my screen here. Now, this is from Yahoo News. Report: China is now the world's richest country. Amazing, right? This is an article by Carl Sampson. This was a little over a week ago. Subheading says China has beat the U.S. to become the world's richest nation, according to a new report. So, it says, key findings: global net worth soared from 156 million in 2000 to 514 trillion in 2020. Hold on, wait a minute. Global net worth soared. It went from 156 million 21 years ago to 514 trillion with a T in that amount of time. That is massive amount of wealth that was just gained. Do you guys know how much that is? A billion is 1,000 million. That's what a billion is. A trillion, if I'm correct, is a million million? $1 million times a million. They went from 156 million to $514 trillion. It says making the world wealthier than it was at any point in history. China accounted for nearly a third of the increase. A third of the increase in the wealth of the world. The report from management consultancy firm McKinsey & Company stated, McKinsey analyzed the national balance sheets of 10 countries that represented 60% of the world's income. Of these nations, China accounted for 50% of the growth in net worth, followed by the United States, 22%, and Japan, 11%, respectively. The report found that China's wealth rose from 7 trillion in 2000 to 120 trillion in 2020. The United States, on the other hand, saw its wealth more than double to 90 trillion in the same period. And it says, while the world is wealthier today, inequality still persists. In both China and the U.S. alone, more than 67% of the wealth is controlled by the richest 10% of households. And they continue to make more. China's a communist country. Really? They still have wealth inequality. I'd argue that China has more social welfare and they are more state capitalists. But other than that, China definitely has its faults. But rest believe that China is nowhere near being socialist yet. It's on its way more than the United States, but it's nowhere near. No. So that whole red baiting saying that China's a socialist or is a communist country, they have a communist party. And they probably were more heavily communist at the time, but they've been walking away from that. Some elements are trying to go back, but no, they're not. They picked up a lot of capitalist elements, which is bad. The report found that 68% of the world's net worth lies in real estate. The remainder can be found in infrastructure, inventories, machinery and equipment, and intangibles such as intellectual property and patents, according to Bloomberg. With the rising cost of real estate, China could suffer a financial crisis similar to the 2008 housing bubble burst in the U.S. Shenzhen-based property developer Evergrande, for instance, is already in hot water over debts totaling $300 billion, which reportedly faced its chairman to sell his personal assets. I might as well read this last part. It says a collapse of the global assets could wipe out as much as 33% of the world's wealth. To avoid such a scenario, report encourage productive and sustainable investments that contribute to global gross domestic product, to GDP. But yeah, China's winning right now as far as the war, so to speak. It's crazy, but yeah, China's doing what the United States didn't want it to do. United States is now number 2. And the funny thing is that this country has pushed this notion that we're number 1. We always have to be number 1. We always have to be the best. And the funny part is, it's like we try to be the best, but we're always the best in the worst metrics. Infant mortality, infrastructure, wealth inequality. We're always number 1 in gun deaths. We're always number 1 in, our military, armaments. We're number 1 in some of the worst shit possible. And yet, we somehow celebrate it. It's the craziest thing. I mean, this country continuously fails and fails and fails, but we somehow think we're the victor. And now the United States is number 2. So now those dudes in Washington, they're now about to blow up. They're like, oh, we can't take it. The United States, we got to be number 1. Meanwhile, the average empire only lasts 250 years, and the United States empire has been around for 245. The more you know. Hey, Robin, good to see you. World Bank headquarters required to be located in the nation with the strongest economy. That's interesting. It's like a bylaw. Numbers in computer data banks based on cookbooks. Where Pilgrim says, reminds me of when the United States surpassed the European empires in terms of wealth around the turn of the 20th century. Yep. Where Pilgrim also continues, arguably, they've adapted to the situation in order to build themselves up, in order to get a more socialist and then communist form. And that's fine. I mean, I'm a socialist, so hey, yeah, go ahead. Great, do it. Maybe I should try and learn Mandarin and move over there. But for right now, they still have billionaires. And it's okay to be critical of every single country. I am the most critical of the one I live in because I live here in the United States. But if I'm going to criticize China, I'm going to criticize China for its wealth inequality, it having billionaires. That's what I'm going to criticize China for. The same thing that I criticize the United States for. If I see elements of the United States and China doing the same things, I'm going to criticize them. Some of the things I will praise China for is that it is kicking our ass in green infrastructure now. I mean, look at the mass transit. And have you seen a subway in China? Dear God. They're immaculate. Gorgeous. I've been in the subways in New York. Smell like urine. Maybe if we didn't have homelessness here in the United States, then maybe the subways wouldn't smell like urine. Yeah, basically the races that we don't want to win. Hey, Andrew, nice to have you in. Welcome to the stream. And Lost Adult, I've never seen you here before, but welcome. Nice to have you. Lost Adult says the problem with this case is the same as the problem with the Wisconsin case. The cops got away with it. Yeah, definitely. A lot of people get away with stuff. That's sad. Robin says, my economic take is stuff is or it ain't. If cash is how we define access, the most significant variable is greed. Yeah. I mean, greed is one of the biggest issues in capitalism. Is a system that exacerbates greed within people so that they can hoard more wealth, so that they can have the most. And typically, that wealth is is made by means of exploiting people, and then through that exploitation, they hoard all the wealth so that they can live a lavish life. But also, not only to live a lavish life, but as they sire an heir, they also can leave that to their heirs so that they can also live a lavish life. Because yes, they do love their children. Yeah, they do. But at the same time, they're also willing to exploit for them so that their children can have a overly abundant prosperity. Robert Durden says China also just eliminated extreme poverty. That is true. That is also something that they deserve credit for. So in terms of, like, in comparison, China is better than the United States in many things, including militarily, because China is not committing a bunch of coups around the world for corporations. But the United States is. So, yeah. So China does deserve some credits for some things. But like I said, no nation is perfect, and they have their faults. But it's like, oh gosh, it's like when I criticize the United States, it's at the position of like the bottom, right? China's kind of like where the bottom is like position number 100. China's like position like number 45. You see what I mean? Like, it still needs some criticism, but it's not as bad as the United States as far as human rights and the things that it does on the world stage. It's just not as bad as the United States. So I hope that I gave a bit of my reasoning there, and it makes sense though. War Deer said, "Look, pal, that urine smell ain't cheap." Oh my goodness! You know what, War Deer? I'm telling you, comments like that may piss some people off. I made it funny. Robin, this is interesting. She said, "Did you see the article in Venezuela's free housing? They've built 32 million homes." What? Well, smack my face and call me delicious. My goodness. 32 million homes? Free housing? Man. Venezuela's doing the damn thing. Actually, Robin, if you can share that article in the chat so we can get access to that article as well, I'd like to take a look at that. Lost Adult says, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the cops got away with encouraging armed people to show up and releasing the mentally ill into a protest, a time-tested way of destroying movements. Every single time a movement to progress is made, the powers that be use their flying monkeys, aka police, to cause discord so that things don't change and there is division. And I'll leave that there. Lost Adult continues, in Arbery, they got away with trying to cover up a lynching because the jury wound up seeing it for what it was. Yeah. And here's the funny part. There was only one black person among the jury. The entire rest of the jury was white. And yet they still saw it for what it was. Thankfully, they did. And so I will say this. The murderers of Ahmaud Arbery, if they were still if they were actually police officers, they would have gotten off. They would have definitely gotten off. But because one was a former police officer and the other two were just citizens, it was easier to just let them fall on the sword, so to speak, so that they can be like, okay, we gave you guys some justice now. Shut the fuck up. That's basically what it felt like. I am in rare form today. It's part for Chavez plan. Oh, okay. Wasn't that Hugo Chavez? Yeah, he was deeply against, especially the Bush administration. Which he was definitely right on that because Bush was horrible. Bush was worse than Trump. People don't want to admit that, though. Don't get me wrong. Trump is horrible, too. And Biden. And Obama. But Bush was the worst. Out of the last 20 years, Bush was the worst. People just don't want to admit it. But yeah, Bush was one of the worst. Oh, Robin says it was 3.2 million. But even 3.2 million homes? Ms. Robin, that is damn good. That is still amazing. Robin Ryan says, I missed a part of the discussion from earlier, but hoping folks are familiar with the Henry A. Wallace Police Misconduct Database. No, I am not. But also, was that named after the former vice president during the FDR administration? If it was, then okay, that's cool. I just never heard of it. But thank you for that. I appreciate that. Lost Adult says not all white people are crazy. No, there's two types of crazy. There's good crazy and there's bad crazy. The murderers of Ahmaud Arbery are bad crazy. Okay? People like Robert Durden, they're the good crazy. They're crazy I like. Robert's my boy though. Love you. Love you, Rob. Because I like to think that I'm part of the good kind of crazy. I like to think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I like to be the good kind of crazy too. So the people who are the because okay. Little side note here. So I had a friend who was a bit of a troll, but he was the troll with a heart of gold. Meaning, if somebody was being a jerk or an asshole, especially to somebody who was disenfranchised or somebody who was weaker or in a more oppressed state, he would troll the oppressor. And he called himself an asshole. And I said, yeah, you're an asshole, but you're an asshole with a heart. And so there are different types of assholes too. And the assholes with hearts, those are the people who I like because they will troll the shit out of oppressors. And I love them for it. So if you're that type of person, keep up the good work, baby. I love you. Mwah, forehead kisses. Okay. Let me see. Where Pilgrim says the way they rehab Bush from warmonger to kind old painter is astounding. They Bob Ross that motherfucker. They really did. And I'm just like, what? All it took was for a PMC, professional managerial class, black woman to hand him some candy and let him lay his head on her shoulder. And next thing you know, oh, look at him. President Warmonger, President War Criminal, and the wife of a war criminal. They're just getting along so well. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Really? That's where we're going? 2 million dead Iraqis. And suddenly we're Bob Rossing. I think I just came up with a term. We're Bob Rossing George W. Bush. Really? Get the fuck out of here. Jeez Louise. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. All right. Yes, John Brown is also the good kind of crazy. Thank you so much. See, I told you. I defer to the Seal song from the 80s there. Thanks. Yes. And the thing is that we don't want to be normal. Normal is what the capitalistic system whatever they deem as normal, we don't want to be. We want to be abnormal, or we want to be extraordinary. We want to be above that. So, yeah, you're right. And yeah, Robert Durden says, I am king troll for the neolibs. Yeah. And the thing is that we have to get to a point where we uncover the absurdity of what they are doing, what they are saying, the actions they are taking, so that it helps wake people up and see it for what it really is. Because a lot of people are lulled to sleep. You know, the neoliberals are the Jigglypuffs of the modern world. As soon as they start singing a tune, everybody goes to sleep. Y'all didn't think I didn't know about that, did you? I'm old, but I'm not that old. Okay. Gosh, I'm so silly today. What the hell is wrong with me? Robin Ryan says, there's a reason the name is what it is. I'm one quirky bird. That's awesome. I also am a quirky bird. I'm probably just an awkward looking ostrich. Robin, I already said that one. Okay, sorry. Lost Adult says being unorthodox is not crazy when the orthodoxy is failing. Ooh, Lost Adult mic drop on that one. I like that. Wardier says John Amos in Die Hard 2 says, "Oh, I'm an asshole. I'm just your kind of asshole." John Amos is funny. Yeah. Oh, no, we're not giving him Bob Ross's name. No, we're not going to do that with George W. Bush. Nope. George W. Bush needs to be in an orange jumpsuit. Normal is predictable. The powers that be can't control people who think outside the box. And that's true. The people who always thought outside the box are the ones who end up inspiring many. And, we're grateful for that. Robin Ryan says Bush's education package, No Child Left Behind, was called a congressional circles nickel bee. I don't know what that is. We're trying to call it Nickelback then. Well, the shoe fits. Such a legendary legacy of disdain for the comms that pay them. Sorry, I just took a swing at Nickelback. I'm sorry, but yeah. So as far as the stories go, yeah. So Ahmaud Arbery got a sliver of justice. Real justice would mean Ahmaud Arbery's still alive. And the United States is no longer king of the universe. I hope this means that capitalism, the fall of capitalism, is now accelerated. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? I mean, if what's going on with China meant that the fall of capitalism is being shoved down a hill now. I wonder what this could mean. I would love to, I need to get some perspective of maybe a Marxist economist or something like that. Maybe Dr. Richard Wolff can probably be a good person to talk to about that, because it's getting intense. And Wardier, I believe that. Even Nickelback doesn't like Nickelback. True. Okay, so I'm basically how do we clear the peeps of the blast zone? I don't know. Interesting question. I don't know. Oh, I forgot. Before I go, because I'm only relegating this to an hour, I would just also like to thank all the coffee supporters. And I usually read them off on a list. And my apologies. Thanks to David Michael, Kush Renata, Socialist Cayman, Rebecca, See the Change, and Robin. Thank you all so much for contributing to my coffee. The support definitely does help and goes a long way. If you guys would like to, my coffee is here in the ticker, as you guys see scrolling down here. Also, if you guys please give it a like. Also, if you can, I know this is just a lot of stuff. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you very much. And you guys have a great day. And if sorry, I just had to do that really quick. If you can, please subscribe if you like my content. I don't know. Am I boring you? I hope not, but I hope I'm at least somewhat entertaining. And if you like, click the bell just to get notified whenever I go live. I am a little bit, random, but, if that's what you like, then hey, here you go. But yeah, be sure to catch me next Tuesday, same time. And I have nothing else to say much. Awesome to see y'all and be here. Thank you so much. Thanks, Robin. Love you, Rob. Thanks. See the change. Say good to see you. All right. Awesome. Oh, thank you. And yeah, just drink some water, water your plants, love each other, and have more sex, whatever. I don't care. Well, I kind of do care because I want you guys to be happy and I want you guys to be healthy and lead wonderful lives. I didn't mean it that way. Come on. What the hell do you guys take me for? Huh?